Major markets are closed today down at the NYSE, but experts are saying that we could see Dow 20,000 before the end of the year. It is just this close. The so-called Trump bump driving stock prices up since the election. This, as President-elect Trump vows to create 25 million new jobs and boost economic growth to levels not seen in more than 2 decades. Bold promises. Joining us now for a bit of a truth serum on this, Marco Soriano, managing partner at the Soriano Group. Marco, nice to see you, sir.
Same here.
All right, truth serum here. Really can a president change the economy in a way that we haven't seen since Ronald Reagan and create those kinds of jobs, that kind of economic growth?
Yes. I mean,
You don't sound convinced. That was not a resounding yes.
Well, I have 2 points to this. Let's start with number one. We have a very dramatic expectations in the current market since November, prior to knowing that Donald Trump was going to be the president. Now we have a total new set of proposals that describe what his plan is in terms of infrastructure, trade, immigration has been touched on this as well, and so on. So there is a pretty good chance. It all depends on execution, and I think that's the key.
Execution is the key, and to your point, what is baked in right now to the Dow and to the markets in general at all-time highs is the anticipation, is the expectation of what Mr. Trump might do. Do we run into a situation where all of a sudden everyone thinks he's going to be able to do everything he says he can, and then invariably you end up with negotiations with the Democrats? You may not get as big of a tax cut you want for corporate taxes, those kinds of things, and it turns out sort of the promise and the sizzle we're seeing now doesn't live up to what is actually going to happen.
Well, there is a certainty that tax reform will definitely be the first thing that we're going to be able to see in terms of changes in the near term. Whatever comes after that, it's to be seen. But once again, the credit validity and credibility that we have today as a U.S. market alone, it's great for all of us.
Okay, great for all of us in terms of people who have 401ks and who are invested in the stock market. We'll deal with the stock market here right now. There was a great investor who once said, "Buy low, sell high," is I think how you make money, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So things are at an all-time high. What can folks buy? What can they invest in? Not that isn't wildly speculative, but sort of still has a chance to appreciate with the first 100 days, with the first couple of years of Mr. Trump's presidency.
Right. So first, a little bit of a correction. The buy low, sell high could also be a flip when making money, because you can buy and hold over a period of time before you decide to sell. In any case, we use options for that. When looking at today's companies, I think the financial technologies that are being used are fintechs in terms of what are the payments that are companies that are being used to make payments over the internet are taking a great chunk of deal from local banks, and I think that's one of the sectors to be looked at. Another one that could be promising would be the loans, the lending companies that we're seeing online for personal to small to medium-sized companies.
As interest rates go up, they make more money for sure. Mm-hmm. One thing that's really been fascinating through this election that we saw when Donald Trump won Pennsylvania, won Ohio, and won Michigan and Wisconsin as well, is the idea that so many people have been left behind. There's a huge block of what were stalwart Democratic voters who have been left behind by the economic recovery. And our Fox News polls really show how this happened. Fox News poll, is your family's financial situation since Obama took office better off, worse off, or same? 47% of Americans say it's exactly the same. And you have to think back to right about this time in 2008, just before President Obama took office. The Dow was roughly half of what it is today. Unemployment was double what it is today. And yet 47% of Americans say they're just the same. How does the Trump bump and Mr. Trump's policies help these folks who say they're exactly the same?
Well, actually, that's very interesting that you bring up this point, because we need to understand that today the baby boomers that are retiring and the labor workforce that is available in terms of what's happening with the output data, it's a disparity, right? We're growing at a rate of 2%, yet the way that we are growing as a population in terms of workforce is at 1.5. So there is a bit of change that creates this disparity that I was talking about. There are jobs. People need to just find them and find them right. I think.
Well, you say there's jobs, but really, if you go to eastern Ohio, western Pennsylvania, where coal companies are out of business, where big manufacturing is out of business, may not return, you've got a rising dollar thanks to Donald Trump that does not help domestic manufacturing. What can the president-elect do? What policies are there that are going to put these people who voted for him back to work and help them not be in the same economic situation they were 8 years ago?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think rules would need to be changed before behavior changes, and that is the main expectation that we have for that particular question.
When you say, give me specifics on rules, are you talking about environmental protections? Are you talking about trade rules? Are you talking about export? Are you talking about the minimum wage? What?
We're talking about mostly regulation and allowing local banks to give these loans to people that want to start either their own businesses or people that are in the market to buy homes, for example. These are the regulations that we're looking at.
You're talking about Fannie, Freddie, and also what could happen in terms of
that's right.
in terms of Dodd-Frank as well. Marco, appreciate your time here, sir. All the best.
Always my pleasure.
All right, Laura.